Good morning. So glad you could join us. You know, hardly a week goes by without someone questioning me, usually in the waiting line at DD, about what's going on with news media coverage of important local stories, how they're being covered, and why they're being covered that way. Let's dive into some of those topics this week with media critic and Northeastern journalism professor Dan Kennedy, author of the must-read Media Nation blog, which you can find at dankennedy.net, and co-host along with Ellen Clegg of the What Works podcast, all about the present and future state of local news. Find that wherever you get your podcasts. Professor Kennedy, welcome.
Thank you, John.
Good to have you here. So, since politics is usually our focus here, let's start with local coverage of the campaign season. You know, during the primary run-up, Republican gubernatorial candidate Jeff Deal raised some eyebrows by refusing to do any TV debates with his primary opponent. That stance is kind of in line with the Republican National Committee saying they're not going to cooperate with the Presidential Debate Commission going forward. Well, now that he's the nominee, Deal says he's eager to debate, and to her credit, Maura Healey, the Democratic nominee, is going to do some debates. But down the ballot, Democratic Attorney General nominee Andrea Campbell is balking at debates with her Republican opponent. Democratic Auditor nominee Diana DeZoglio also seems hesitant to do a one-on-one debate. Dan, what's going on here, and should voters care?
Well, voters should very much care, especially since, in many cases, this has been a fairly low-profile election season, and I don't know how much voters know about the candidates. They tend not to tune in until after Labor Day, and then the primary was held right after that. This is the perfect time for the candidates to introduce themselves to the voters, and they ought to be willing to do that.
What's lost if we don't have TV debates?
Well, there's less information on which the voters have to make their choice. They want to see the candidates make their case, talk about what issues they want to emphasize, and then the voters can make a decision from there. And it seems that in most of these cases, the Democrats are just so far ahead that they don't feel that they have to debate.
Well,
but
you know,
that's not good for democracy.
Well, and I don't think it's good for them. I mean, I get it. You're way ahead. Why do you want to give oxygen to your opponent, who in many of these cases doesn't have the money to get on TV otherwise? On the other hand, okay, you're way ahead. If you're going to win and you're going to try to govern, it's probably a good idea to make a good impression on the electorate now, and going in and mopping up the floor in a debate with your opponent's a good way to do it.
I agree with you completely. You know, let's bring back the League of Women Voters in terms of running these debates. I don't think people felt like they could say no to the League, and they're not involved in the debates anymore. I wish they were.
All right. Well, we'll discuss more about that later. But look, speaking of the primary, in the run-up to primary day, you mentioned this, there was a lot of hand-wringing about polls showing many voters, far too many, knew next to nothing about these candidates, even as voting day approached. Some folks blamed the local media for this, claiming that, you know, there just wasn't enough coverage. Do you buy that?
In part. I do think there was plenty of coverage of this campaign, and certainly we saw multiple stories on the Democratic Attorney General's race, which was probably the hottest of the races. But the coverage overwhelmingly emphasized polls, fundraising, endorsements. I don't really see how that helps the voters make up their minds. Now, the fact is, in a Democratic primary, there wasn't a huge difference on issues among the candidates, but there was some, and I do think the media could have done a better job of bringing that out.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we got to take our break, and when we return, we'll talk a little bit about the way the media covered the Martha's Vineyard migrant story. That and more coming up in just a moment. Stay with us.